Hey everybody, how you doing? Here, Sydney Pinellas. All right, so this course lesson today, we're going to talk about Airbnb arbitrage. Again, I keep saying Airbnb. This, it's synonymous to short-term rentals. I'm talking about Verbal here. I'm talking about Furnish Finder and any other third-party tool that'll help you do this. When we talk about Airbnb arbitrage, that is basically telling your landlord, or instead of owning a home, you go to a landlord, owner of an apartment or a house, and you let them know, hey, I would like to rent your home so that I can put it on Airbnb or so that I can do short-term rentals with it. All right. So I highly suggest that you do speak to the landlord. Don't do it where you're going to go and try to do it behind their back because it's definitely going to cause more issues and more pain thinking that hey, if I don't tell them I can make an extra buck by not having to let him know, and they'll charge you more because essentially what will probably happen is a landlord will ask for more money knowing that you are actually doing it to make money instead of just like living there, which it comes with the territory. I mean, if your negotiation skills is good enough and landlord is willing to let you do it without that, great for you. But if they won't, it comes with the territory, right? So this is just going to show you an inexpensive way to run an Airbnb. There's so many pros and cons to doing this. I will explain some of that down in this little guide that will be included in your Airbnb um, package here or your short-term package, and it'll help you get through understanding how arbitrage work. So let's go ahead and get through it here real quick. And just kind of has a brief description, just like purchasing a rental property to let out to tenants is not the only way to enter rental real estate, right? This is called arbitrage. All right, so I'm gonna let you read most of this stuff, and I'm just gonna touch on some of the key points here that is important. Uh, uh, Airbnb rental arbitrage. This is a business model where people can sublet properties that are renting on short-term rental platforms such as Airbnb. All right. So again, you are actually not an owner of the property. You are working with the owner to actually do the Airbnb portion. And maybe don't you're thinking, well, why can't the owner just do it themselves? Airbnb is a bit of a job, right? You're going to have to dispatch cleaning people, maintenance people. You're gonna have to keep calendars up to date and all of that. Some owners may not want to do that. They may just want to um, do traditional renting. But again, the good thing is there's ways to pitch it to the owner to let them know, hey, look, here's the bright side of letting me basically manage your property for you. Okay. Just a quick example. If you're renting a two-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month, which is pretty common here in Miami in some places, and you sublet on Airbnb as per the Airbnb arbitrage methods, you can generate 150 per night in rent, which would mean that you could pay off the rent in 2 weeks and letting out the apartment. The rest of the money is then profit, folks. So basically, you see there if you do about $150 for 2 weeks, you can go ahead and sublease it, make that rent payment, and then from there you can go ahead and pocket some of the money. So just best case scenario, you go 28 days. You're looking at 4,200, which is very good. I mean, in Miami, 75% most what I see when it comes to occupancy rates. It could be higher in some places. These are some of the researchers that you would use AirDNA, the tool I introduced earlier, to help you out with figuring out what that looks like. Okay, how do you start Airbnb arbitrage business? All right, here, check the laws. Is it legal? Clear it out with the landlord. Again, I mentioned earlier, you need to make sure the landlord allows it. Talking about the laws, I do include laws information in this package, so it'll be there for the state of Florida. Look into an LLC. Get an LLC, folks. It helps protect your assets at home. People can't touch it, and they put the business under there. Research the real estate market. I suggest getting a realtor to do that. It helps cut down the time. They are experts in the area, so it'll cut down the time that for you to get that process actually started. Estimate your starting cost. It's going to cost you. Maybe you have to furnish it yourself and do all the things like that. So go ahead and sit down and figure out what it's going to cost to, buy furniture and stuff like that. Again, this is something I do include in one of the workbooks as an example of some of the costs that I had to actually set it up. Again, it can vary depending on where you're at, how you're buying these items, and what type of items you're buying. Okay. Um, repairs and upgrades, you got to put that into your monthly cost. Those will happen. You will have repairs. And then, upgrades. That's one way to actually kind of talk a landlord into letting you do it. If you're letting them know, hey, look, I want to do some upgrades because it'll help bring up the quality of your property, which will make it easier for me to market on Airbnb. I mean, that's one more reason why the landlord will let you do it. And then create the perfect listing. You want to have a nice listing with great pictures, good description. You want to touch the items that most people are looking for so that, you reach to a wide range of crowd versus just a specific group. All right. So make sure you do that. All right. Um, uh, Again, these are just go into the details of each one of those points that I mentioned, starting cost and stuff like that. It goes into detail there, repairs and upgrades, creating the perfect listing. All right. Now, how do you find these properties? All right. One way is going to rental listing sites, Zillow. You can go into renters.com, Trulia. There's multiple sites out there that they'll have rental properties. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to talk to landlords and convince them why they should do this. So when you're doing that, you're trying to get in contact with the landlord in order to you know. Uh, Convince them, right? Sometimes some of these sites will have the number of the um, agent. You probably won't convince the agent as much as you can convince a landlord. So the best thing is to try to get the phone number from the agent so that you'll be able to I'm sorry, for the landlord so that you'll be able to, talk them into why they should give you that property. And then here, I'll just show you the site I use called True People Search to find people. Basically, it's showing that it's not okay. You have to go through if you're a human or whatnot real quick. Anything with a drink, cold, refreshing beverage here, right? And then let me move this out of the way so I can. Next. Okay, didn't like it. Give me a second here, folks. I might need, this is going to be like the price is right. I might need your help to find these cold drinks here. All right, we're good. We're good, folks. We won. All right, so once you go in there, you got different ways you can find people. You could look at their names. You could put in their address, and then you'll find contact information. So it is a little bit of work up front, right? So there's one way, there's going to be a way that you got to put in the time, right? Maybe it's not the money to buying the property and own it, but you got to put in the time to find these people. You may get 100 no's for every yes. You may even get 500 no's for every yes. It just how determined are you to find this property? You got you got to be able to take rejection because it's going to happen more often than not. I can guarantee that. That's the one guarantee that I'm going to give you, right? So this is not for the weak-hearted. These are for the people who are serious and actually wants to make sure this gets done. All right. Online search method. Again, I showed you ways that you can find landlords. You can type in short-term rental. Maybe there's folks out there who are actively putting their property out there for you to, work on short-term rentals for them. And they're actually looking for someone to do the arbitrage work for them, almost like you being their property manager, I would say. Method three, network with real estate investors. Investors, they're working with other people who are in Airbnbs and stuff like that. They may have the contacts, the leads that you need to find properties, that allow, subleasing. So if you do know investors, or you can go to like Facebook groups and find groups with these investors and reach out to people and let them know what you're trying to do, and then let them know you have a business plan on making this successful or whatnot. Okay. Ask a real estate agent. I think that is one of the most easiest way where you don't have to spend that time. Some of these real estate agents has probably already worked with, you know, other landlords who are willing to do that, and you might have just skipped that whole process of searching and just get straight to a source there. So yeah, reach out to a real estate agent. Understand a real estate agent doesn't cost you anything until the deal is done, and even if you're on the buyer side, is really the landlord who pays the real estate agent. So it almost costs you nothing from a buyer slash tenant side. How to talk to a landlord. I did include a script in there that you can use to talk to the landlord. It does highlight points that makes it very appeasing to the landlord why they should accept your offer. But you want to go ahead and talk to them. You're becoming a salesperson. You want to show them why this is the way to go. This is the route to go. All right, and here it just explains, working with Airbnb, there's insurance policies and stuff that are there. You let them know some of the benefits. Less wears and tears. Guests usually don't cook when they're staying, in a place for a few days. The space will be professionally cleaned multiple times a month. Imagine that. Instead of having someone in a home for 12 months, which you really can't go into, right? Because they have their privacy, unless it's like some, crazy circumstances. In this case, you're always going to have cleaning people who are going to go in there. Again, I do include a checklist that you can use with your cleaning people to make sure that everything gets clean. But when you're talking to a landlord slash owner, you're letting them know, hey, your house is going to probably be as clean as it's going to be with, when you're renting it out. Any damages will be quickly fixed by you or the Airbnb insurance. So again, that's one less cost that they would have to worry about because you're assuring that you'll take care of that. No risk of getting bad tenants such as squatters, hoarders, and partiers. One thing that people don't know, you can't squat when you're an Airbnb. There are people out there, unfortunately, who try to go into people's homes and they'll stay there and there's no way to get them out because they're saying they lived there for long enough, they're getting mail sent to them, et cetera, et cetera. And next thing you know, you're stuck with a squatter. No, through Airbnb, it is established that that's what they're doing. It's almost like hotel service. They'll be there for the time that they agreed upon, and they will leave when it's time to go. So that is something that is great in that sense. You get the money from Airbnb because it's charging people's credit cards. So it's not like someone missed the first of the month and it's not there. No, it's not. The money's not there. They gotta go. You call Airbnb to resolve the situation. And then we'll get the if you need police escort or whatnot to get the people out. That'll be the next steps or whatnot. But like I said, the good thing is their card will always be in there. If Airbnb feels like they're not getting, the money from that, their account will simply be suspended, and they can't use Airbnb again. So a lot of people like to use Airbnb for different reasons, and in order to protect their account, they have to make sure that they're paying. Okay. Just some things if they're still hesitant, you can offer a share profits. So hey, here's a bit more. I'll give you a bit more in the mortgage, or I'll give you a percentage of the money that I'm making. All right. Other ways you can get them to agree. Prepay for the month upfront. Offer purchase of your own vacation rental insurance. Amend your rental contract to offer coverage of certain damages of yourself that you do yourself. Extend off, etc. So there's a couple of things to show the landlord you're responsible. Agree upon often you're hosting guests in their space. Set a limit for the number of guests allowed. Set house rules. These are things that you're going to tell the guests, tell the landlord. All right. And there's more. So this document is going to be there. You can look at it and figure it out. All right. And here's some pros and cons to it. Pros, great technique for new real estate investors. Again, this is the way in. A lot of people are always asking me, hey, I don't have 20,000, 25%, or what is it, 20% to 30% to get an investment property. So this is a low cost entry into it. This is the way to establish yourself. learn the tricks of the trade and build on it so that when you do have your own property, you know all the do's and don'ts or whatnot. All right. Low upfront costs. You don't have to pay all those closing costs, all the, whatever comes to actually buying a home or whatnot, right? It's already there. The home's there. You're basically paying to rent off a piece of property from someone. Okay. Um, easy, easily scalable. You can you can do this with multiple properties as long as you can get, a landlord to agree. Maybe you find a building, someone who owns a building, and they have 12 units there. You can get someone to, give you, half of those units. So for that reason, so you can scale quickly because instead of buying 6 units, you get these 6 units through the arbitrage and the landlord, and it's easy to scale up. Start getting more revenue. Instead of making 1,000 on one property, you're making 6,000 on six properties, right? Okay. Lower risks. Like again, uh, the risk factor is a lot more when you own your own property. Here you don't, so it's just simply, about a lease. After a year, if you feel things don't work out, you could just walk away. You don't own the property, you don't own the mortgage on the property. Now, you don't have the equity, but you can always walk away, reset, figure out what was wrong, and then get back into it again. This is a way to practice when you do have your own that you'll be ready and you'll know the do's and don'ts. Less admin, Airbnb arbitrage technically requires less admin than regular rentals because the property is. So, there are things that you are working with the landlord that they still will do. So there's, certain things that you won't have to do. So this will actually come in there. It didn't have the cons, but I mean, some of the cons that I'll tell you for sure is number one is you're not getting equity, right? So one of the main reasons that I do it, and other people is you're trying to build equity, right? Home values do go up, even if people are thinking of a crash that's coming in the near future. At the end of the day, home values go up. That's just since the beginning of time. So now you're building up equity, you're building up wealth. It's only better for you because now in a few years you can always pull that equity to go buy your next property, or when you're ready to sell, you basically on top of the revenue that you were getting, you're also going to make a profit off of your sales. So hopefully this helped out. Again, Airbnb arbitrage is definitely a great way to get in and start an Airbnb business without the big risks of what was I going to say? Without the big risk of actually owning and things failing. So something to consider. Hopefully this helped out. If you have any more questions about this, reach out to me. My information is all over the website. I can help you out with that information. And with that being said, thank you all. Have a good one.